It's difficult for any ship to travel more than 35 knots. Above this speed, the bow wave forces the vessel to push uphill. But a hydrofoil has wings, which lift the hull clear of the water as speed increases. The resultant reduction in drag yields higher speeds without expending more horsepower.
The discovery of an Old Kingdom tomb is rare and hugely exciting. Most of the team's finds until now have been from much later in Egypt's history. This tomb predates them by around 2 millennia. As they step through the door, the interior immediately takes their breath away. On the far wall is a set of perfectly preserved painted inscriptions.
الحلاوة بقى، شوف الحلاوة، شوف وكأن الفنان لسه مخلص البتاع دي النهارده. يا أستاذ أحمد؟ لسه حالا مخلص.
لا باب وهمي رائع بصراحة.
The inscriptions have a prominent position in the center of the tomb. They cover a type of panel called a false door, a magical gateway to the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians believed that after death, part of their soul, called the Ba, took the form of a bird with a human head. It could move between the worlds of the living and the dead, but it needed a portal to travel through.
False door is very important. It was where the Ba could move between the realm. It's the gate to freedom.
These doorways were highly decorated to represent the essence of the owner.
It would have the person's titles, name, and image. Everything about that person that they could cram in that small space, they would.
Muhammad can now put a face to the name. The paintings show Pinomus alongside his wife and children, including a tender portrait of a daughter clinging to her mother's clothes. One title says a lot about the kind of man he was. He's named as a royal acquaintance.
The title Royal Acquaintance was definitely used for someone who was close to the king, someone who would have been from the king's closest circle. So it would have been an advisor, a minister, very high-ranking government official.
Pharaohs in the Old Kingdom had absolute power and unlimited wealth. They were useful connections to have in the afterlife.
Everybody in this time want to be near the king. When he wrote in the tomb that the king know me, for him it's like passport to get easily in the second life without any problems.
At Saqqara, archaeologists get ready to open the coffin of an ancient Egyptian woman.
Oh, wow, wow.
Very nice.
Very nice.
The team is finally face to face with a woman who lived 2.5 millennia ago. Muhammad thinks there is something unusual about the woman's body. The mummy has a mysterious-looking bump.
So maybe this woman, when she died, she was pregnant.
Excavation director Dr. Mustafa Waziri will use an X-ray machine to try to find out one way or the other. If this woman was pregnant, the X-rays could show an unborn baby. Instead, they reveal her hands. This young woman was not pregnant. The bump is formed by her hands, lying twisted across her stomach. It's an unusual pose. Normally, a mummy's hands were arranged by the sides or across the chest. But this woman's hands appear to be unnaturally contorted.
The question that I did ask, was she disabled in the hands?
They take more X-rays to search for other physical deformities.
بص الباكبون في little bit move ها. ما ايوه دي اللي جت كده. We have seen the backbone. It's not straight.
This condition looks like a sideways curvature of the spine, known as scoliosis. Severe scoliosis can reduce the amount of space in the chest and impair the lungs. So this young woman may have had real difficulty breathing. X-rays reveal even more health problems.
في سنة عرج. يعمل كده.
واحدة الثانية وراها.
Look at this one, which is very important. We can see that there is one shorter than the other. Look soon. I can see something here.
It seems that the small broken part of the patella of the bone.
Uneven legs, damaged knees, and a curved spine could be the result of a serious and painful illness like polio. The X-rays reveal that this wealthy young woman had several incurable health problems that may have been terminal. The team now has a clearer picture of how she died. So, what was her life like? At the time, physical ailments could mean a painful existence, but not one lived in the shadows. The Egyptians often represented conditions such as blindness or deformities in their artwork. From the famous boy pharaoh Tutankhamun, who had a limp, to high-ranking officials like Seneb, who lived around 2500 BC and was a person with dwarfism. The painted mummy's beautiful coffin and immaculate preservation indicates that this woman was well loved by her family.
The nuclear family was very, very important to members of the Egyptian elite. So they would be united in life and united forever after in the great beyond.
There is one combat ship that's part plane, part boat. The hydrofoil, the fastest ship the U.S. Navy's ever had in its fleet. One survives, the Pegasus-class warship USS Ares. In 1993, 3 businessmen with a passion for military tech bought the decommissioned Ares at auction. They didn't know exactly what they were bidding for.
The internet, of course, was just barely getting up and running there, so we had no idea what the actual ship looked like, other than its description. And it said it was 133 feet long and it was 28 feet wide. It was made out of aluminum and it had stainless steel foils on it, and it just sounded like something that we just had to have.
Others were watching the sale. Soon after Elliot and his partners won the bid, they got a call from a surprising organization, the International Hydrofoil Society.
Do you have any idea what you bought? To which I answered, of course, no. And he says, well, you bought one of the most technologically advanced ships ever constructed that has not yet been surpassed by any navy in the world. And I was flabbergasted because I was like, well, why did they let me do that?
Hydrofoils are groundbreaking pieces of technology. It's difficult for any ship to travel more than 35 knots. Above this speed, the bow wave forces the vessel to push uphill. But a hydrofoil has wings, which lift the hull clear of the water as speed increases. The resultant reduction in drag yields higher speeds without expending more horsepower. The Pegasus-class hydrofoil was propelled by a water jet. An 18,000 horsepower engine shot 90,000 gallons per minute out of the stern. Then, the foils took over.
That wing shape you see right there, that is actually the wing that lifts the ship out of the water. It is all stainless steel, and that wing at 47 feet wide is machined out of one solid chunk of stainless. And when you're moving around in shallow water like the ship is in now, the foils are retracted. So that's why it's up in this position, and the ship only drafts about 6.5 feet, so it's easy to get around in shallow water.
At its top speed of 55 miles an hour, the Ares lifted 20 feet into the air.
I can't really describe it to anyone that's not done it, but to be up there flying above the waves was just a sensation that I never have forgotten. And every time we went foil-borne and the hull left the surface of the water, it just brought a feeling of excitement and enthusiasm for the program.
Energized workers across the Reich rushed to build a new generation of superweapons. The Panther medium tank has advanced sloping armor, a 75mm gun, and a top speed of 34 miles an hour. It sets a new standard for an all-round tank. The heavy Tiger is slow but powerful. Early demonstrations see the 57-ton machine take on trees and houses, destroying everything in its path.
When the Tiger tank appears, its combination of a very powerful gun together with heavy armament means that it can outclass any Soviet tank on the battlefield.
The Ferdinand self-propelled gun is a tank killer. Named after its designer, the car manufacturer Ferdinand Porsche, its 88mm gun is even longer than the Tiger's. This gives its armor-piercing shells increased velocity and a range of nearly 2 miles.
The new Wonder weapons are up-armored and up-gunned and gave the Germans a great tactical advantage on the battlefield, as well as a great psychological advantage over the enemy.
Despite their power, the new superweapons will still be outnumbered by the Soviet T-34 tanks, rolling off production lines to the east. So the German army looked to upgrade their soldiers too. The 1943 training film, Men Against Tanks, aims to turn the average Wehrmacht soldier into a one-man tank buster. A simulated Soviet attack using captured Red Army tanks, guns, and uniforms thunders towards the German trenches. Lesson 1, stand your ground. Lesson 2, machine guns and rifles have little impact against the T-34's frontal armor. An anti-tank gun, fired at the thinner sides, is much more effective, but is an easy target for the swarming T-34s. Lesson 3, be ready to get up close and personal. Stick hand grenades, mines, phosphorus grenades, anything to get the enemy crews to bail out. If all else fails, the Panzerknacker, or tank breaker, is a cone of explosive with magnets around the base. It must be precisely attached by hand, but the risk is worth the reward. Hitler is convinced his new tactics and tools will put the Reich back on the path to European domination. He must now pick the spot to unleash their power.
In 2011, the Queen prepared to host one of the most iconic royal events of her reign. Her grandson and second in line to the throne, Prince William, married his university sweetheart, Catherine Middleton. It was a significant moment for the Queen's succession.
The media are terribly excited about a royal wedding. The transparent happiness of the young couple just permeated right through the occasion, and that must have absolutely delighted the Queen.
Marriage is vital to the royal family. It's about stability. It's the fact that you're going to continue down the generations. It's all about passing on the genes.
Billions around the world tuned in for the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton. The popularity of the Queen and her family had never been so high.
Not very long after that arrives Prince George, and so she then has 3 heirs in direct succession. You have to go right back to Queen Victoria to find that situation.
And the Queen was making sure her successors were all well-versed in how to become a monarch.
It was the Queen herself who gave Prince William his constitutional history lessons. And when he becomes king, it is in her constitutional style that he proposes to reign.
I think the Queen and her grandchildren are all very close, and she takes great interest in them. And they're getting to the age now when they want to help. But it always makes me cross that people concentrate so much on Prince William and forget the fact that he's not the heir to the throne, Prince of Wales is.
Yet there is still a swathe of the public who would like to see Prince Charles passed over in favour of William.
There was that poll that 46% wanted Charles to abdicate and have William become king. And I do think that that will grow in the percentage. I'd be surprised if it didn't grow once the Queen has passed on.
In an age of glamour and youth, a lot of people have said, well, why isn't it skipped to William? William's young, he's glamorous, he's got Kate on his arm and 3 lovely young kiddies. Why can't we have him? No, we've got to have the old dude with Camilla, the second wife.
I think what Prince Charles stands for and the changes that he has advocated for, especially for the environment and of course for climate change, has been incredible. But he doesn't get the credit for those things. He is remembered for a marriage that turned into a tragic death. And that will always, I think, weigh on the minds of the public, not only in the UK, but also around the world.
So a question has arisen as to whether Charles should be the successor or should step aside, but I think that's completely inconceivable. If you're going to have a hereditary system, let it be a hereditary system. He's the most trained leader in waiting, really, in human history. He's been heir to the throne since he was 3. He's worked incredibly hard in the last 40, 50 years. So the good work he's done, the training that he's done for the office, I think makes him very suited to be the next monarch.
There are some people in this country and around the world who will never forgive Charles and Camilla for having an affair whilst he was married to Diana. And so I think Charles realises that he's sort of tipping into a headwind, and the first year of his reign will set the tone as to whether he's going to be a popular monarch or not.